9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour is a developing story. The body of 29-year-old Haley Mason was found after several hours of searching the Little Dell Reservoir. Bystanders say that they heard a woman asking for help and decided to call 911. UDOT says you could find yourself in up to 10-minute delays if you're heading out of town today, but that is better than some of our other major holidays. UDOT spokesperson Mitch Shaw says you'll probably start running into these delays around 3 or 4 o'clock.
The most likely time that it would happen is when you start the evening commute, when you kind of, like I said, mix the commuter travel in with the people that might be traveling, heading out of town.
Shaw says the earlier you can head out, the better. Look for all of those delays on I-15 northbound in Davis County, north and southbound in Salt Lake County, and southbound around Nephi. Our top national stories from ABC News. Former President Donald Trump's sentencing for his criminal hush money trial charges has been delayed until September. It's to consider whether the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity has any impact. Your money at this moment, the Dow is off 70 points now. That's about 0.2%. We're at 39,262. You just couldn't ask for a nicer weather forecast. It's going to be beautiful. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Celebrate July 4th with the hottest deals at Lowe's. Right now, get 2 select 2 or 2.5 quart red, white, and blue annuals for $10. And buy 2, get 1 free on select paint and exterior stain via Lowe's gift card rebate. Shop these deals before they're gone, because Lowe's knows summer savings. Valid through 7/10. Annuals offer in-store only. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. Paint. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details while supplies last.
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products like Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
Looks like we got a couple of cars in a disagreement northbound I-15. This is as you are approaching the I-80 interchange, just before 2700 South, I guess is where we'll put that. Some flashing lights there, and It's not blocking any lanes of traffic, but of course you're going to have to slow down as you pass on by there with the flashing lights and everything that's going on. Everything else, though, is looking pretty fantastic. It's been a light commute all morning long, and we kind of remained that way everywhere else that you look. This is the place, Heritage Park. Don't miss July celebrations and fun-filled days, starting with Liberty Day, Super Duper Day, and Pioneer Day. Activities all month. Visit thisistheplace.org. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and 88 for a high today, 86 for the 4th, and then we climb back up to 100 by early next week. Right now it's 73 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
All right. We have not figured out a better way to refer to the downtown revitalization zone. We've got to figure out a better way to frame this. I would think with all the smart people out there that we can have just kind of something a little more quippy, but we're trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen, how we're going to pay for it. So filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Morgan Lyon-Cotti from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. First of all, thank you so much.
Always happy to be here.
Do you have a better name than the Downtown Revitalization Project?
No.
I will take anything.
I was like, I don't know. I'm not a marketing person. I was like, the zone, but it seems like that's taken.
I'll take anything. You know what? For today, it's going to be the zone.
The downtown buildup. I don't know. Boston had the big dig. I think we can come up with something.
the big dig is phenomenal.
We can do something. Except then, no matter what, it's going to have a negative connotation because it causes traffic and snarls and, as we just heard, disagreements.
It is. There's going to be a lot of disagreements.
Car disagreements.
little baby disagreements. But last night, yesterday, the Smith Entertainment Group, who is, Ryan Smith, owns the Jazz, owns the Utah Hockey Club, owns basically every sports team in the state so far. But anyway, he's really, his group, the Smith Entertainment Group, is negotiating right now with Salt Lake City, trying to figure out, okay, let's dot some I's, cross some T's. Met with them yesterday and proposed and gave out a contract. Lindsay Aerts joins us right now from KSL 5 Television. And Lindsay, you've done such a phenomenal job covering this and trying to keep track of where we're at in the process. But there were some concessions, there's some funding mechanisms. What can you tell us about this contract now that you've held it in your hands and been able to pore over it?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Well, I don't have a better name for what we're doing either, but essentially we're trying to redo downtown. So somebody come up with a better name for that. But yeah, what we got yesterday was essentially the agreement between Smith Entertainment Group and Salt Lake City to say, in exchange for the revenue that will be generated when we increase, if we increase, I should say, the sales tax, here's what Smith Entertainment has committed to. And the city ran through a host of negotiation points and what they are calling public benefits that the city is getting out of this deal. So these are going to be super high level, and we can get into the weeds of any of the specifics you want. But essentially, there's some bullet points here. So first of all, Smith Entertainment Group has a home game commitment. So the Jazz and the hockey team have got to play their home games at the Delta Center. Obviously, that signals that they're not going to move south because they would be in breach of their contract. Also, a major provision of this is a ticket fee. So $1 to $3 of every Delta Center ticket will be kicked into a fund that Salt Lake City can use for affordable housing initiatives, family-style housing initiatives, and other benefits the city sees fit.
Lindsay, let me just follow up on that really quick. That little fee, the $1 to $3, is that just for Jazz games and hockey, or is that? No,
that's any Delta Center event, right? So concerts and Disney on Ice, I would presume, right? Any event held at the Delta Center, a $1 to $3 ticket fee, and it depends on how expensive the tickets are, how much that fee is.
So they do expect, and that money, is that kind of squirreled away into like an escrow account, or how does that get used?
In like a savings account, basically, for the city. It goes into a separate fund that can be used per the contract. It specifies family-style housing and affordable housing and other sort of initiatives. I'm sure there will be specific language on that, on what exactly it can be used on, but essentially it's a separate account separate from the general fund or any other fund that goes towards anything in Salt Lake City, and it's specifically designed for initiatives that the city wants to tackle with regards to housing and other things like that. It will also go to put money towards Japantown and money towards some of the zone, like the public art installations and stuff like that.
So, Lindsay, there's so much discussion with the downtown, and we see this from state to state with other cities as well when we talk about putting these public funds into what are really big money issues. And I'm hearing what are clearly some compromises. Do you think that they are threading the needle, that they're going to have the public support for the amount of public money that they're going to be putting into this?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing here from the city is on paper what they prioritize, right? So housing, right? Some of these ticket fees are going back to housing. There's also public benefits in terms of workforce development, apprenticeships, internships, youth programs, speaking engagements, college internships, focusing on low-income folks and free and reduced tickets. There will be these gathering spaces that SEG has committed to, right? So you're really seeing the Japantown commitment, right? So you're seeing in this contract, I think, what Salt Lake City's concerns were as they entered into this negotiation and what they deemed as important public benefits to be on paper and written down for SEG to commit to, so it wasn't just like a gentleman's handshake that was like, yeah, sure, we'll make sure that we give some free and reduced tickets. No, it's actually in the contract that they have to do that. So, again, I think you're sort of seeing on paper, here's what you get for the tax money investment. Now, we can have arguments all day long on whether that is equal to the monetary value, right? But essentially what you're seeing here is the public benefits that Salt Lake City has negotiated for and wanted to see in exchange for the tax money.
It does look like it has some specific numbers attached to projects. So of that $900 million that could be used by the Smith Entertainment Group, they divided it up. How much money would be spent on, say, renovations at the Delta Center?
Yeah, so that did get broken down a little bit, and it's still an estimate, but there are some stipulations where, as we get further down the road, there has to be some accounting of actually how much this is going to cost, right? So right now it's broken down into $525 million of the revenue that's generated from the tax would go to the Delta Center. Another $375 would go towards the rest of the zone. So that would be once we clear out the blocks of the 2 blocks east of the Delta Center, that's where that 375 would have to go. I will also note that this contract is sort of conditional on the contract that Smith Entertainment Group has to enter into with the county as well, because they're basically going to lease the land and the Salt Palace from the county, and that's contingent on this deal going forward as well. So once they do that, that's when this whole thing can be triggered. And part of this contract with the city says you've got to have that contract by July of next year.
Was Abravanel Hall mentioned?
Well, no. So Abravanel Hall is owned by the county. And this is one message that is super confusing, I think, to people. Abravanel Hall is owned and operated and managed by the county. So is the Salt Palace. So there's a separate contract that has to happen between Smith Entertainment Group and the county in order to do any sort of renovations or anything with those blocks. So this agreement just says, hey, we would like to you must make sure that you enter into that contract because some of this money is going to go to this zone. But what happens with the Abravanel and what happens with the Salt Palace will be contingent on what the county decides with Smith Entertainment Group.
So does that go through? Sorry, I hope this isn't too weedy, but do they have to do a similar thing where they meet with? Is it the Salt Lake County Council and make this proposal as well, or what's that next step?
That's a good question. I don't know whether the county would have to approve any funds that go towards the Bravenel Hall, certainly. But yeah, it'll be probably a negotiation with Mayor Jenny Wilson and then a proposal for the county council to consider. But essentially, it's a lease agreement where the Smith Entertainment Group would have to lease the land and the property owned by the county.
Lindsay, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. Really big news as we're starting to see the specifics of the downtown revitalization project come forth. $525 million would go to Delta Center renovations, updates, redesigns, trying to build it in a way that hockey can be played there in a better way. $375 million would go to other projects. We will continue this conversation when we come back with Morgan Lyon-Cotti as we discuss the funding mechanisms, where this money is going to go to, and then she brought up a great example of another how that has turned out next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Utah State is clearing house.
It intends to fire head football coach Blake Anderson.
Days ago, he's decked out in Utah State gear, and then this happens.
2 others also fired.
The Aggies are rocked by more allegations of misconduct. The program and the school's reputation are again at stake. Stay updated this week on KSL News Radio.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with a needs analysis where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's a good plan. You get real unlimited data all for just $20 a month for the whole first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 and a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month service credit applied for up to 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me grow from 1 Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
With the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
For over 80 years, Farm Bureau Financial Services has been protecting farmers and ranchers season after season.
You need to know you're covered and you've got somebody covering your back.
You've got local people that everybody knows.
And we have a good policy and a good agent, and I guess that's what you need to be able to sleep at night.
Loyal, local, and rooted in ag for over 80 years. Learn more at fbfs.com/rootedinag. It's your future. Let's protect it.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the body of a woman was found at Little Dell Reservoir after her kayak flipped yesterday afternoon. Second, the Washington County Sheriff says a fairly simple search and rescue operation in Zion National Park took much longer than necessary because a hiker told to remain in place didn't. Third, police are reminding travelers to pick up luggage right away at the airports. This comes as a Davis County family believes their luggage was stolen right off the carousel at Salt Lake International. Right now, it's 73 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I am absolutely determined at some point we're going to figure out a better way to refer to the Downtown Revitalization Project, because that is a mouthful. The Big Dig, you talked about that, Morgan. Like that's some great branding. We need a good, meaty something that we can use to refer to the Downtown Revitalization Project. What that is, if it sounds crazy, and it does, it's what's going to happen. The Delta Center is going to get some renovations. That's where the Jazz are going to play. The new hockey club, NHL Hockey Club, is going to play there. And then they're going to create 2 blocks east of the Delta Center this walkable, lots of restaurants, culture, arts, all sorts of kind of one-stop shopping downtown experience that is amazing. And the Smith Entertainment Group, led by Ryan Smith, who owns the Jazz and the new hockey club, they've been negotiating, trying to figure out how we're going to pay for this, what kind of role government is going to take, raising money, helping to subsidize some of this. Morgan Lyon-Cotti fills in for Debbie Dujanovic today from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And Morgan, it's $900 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's a ton of money. Yeah. And when you're talking about billionaire owners, there's a lot of heartburn from people that are saying, why are we subsidizing billionaire owners? How do you respond to that? I mean, what's the argument to say, okay, this is why we subsidize, even though they are billionaire owners?
So we hear this argument a lot when we're talking not just about sports, but when we're talking about the movie industry. We had this debate in Utah a couple years ago about providing incentives for movies to film here. We heard about it with the Eccles Theater because voters see with our own eyes, we know how much money you're making. But there's also that harsh reality is that without some of these incentives, owners may go other places. They'll go to cities or they'll go to states that will give them the help that they're looking for to build these things, make it more profitable for them. So it's also sort of that market business acumen that these public leaders have to have.
That's a great point, because this is not in a bubble. I mean, these teams, and have over decades and generations, have said, you know what, if we're not getting the right kind of support from the community, we will pack up and go. And it is a bidding war across the country trying to bring teams over. Seattle Supersonics were so incredibly popular up in Seattle. They loved them. They had a vibrant fan base. They couldn't get a new arena deal done. They packed them up and moved them in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma City. And Seattle has been bemoaning the fact that they lost their beloved Supersonics ever since. And that is the strength that these sports teams have. Now, maybe the second part of the argument is, how do you push back against these kind of owners that wield so much leverage?
Yes, and I just have to say, as a Jazz fan of the 90s and the stress I felt every time Gary Payton was going against John Stockton, part of me is just like, yes, Sonics, but I don't want to say that because
I love that you hold the grudge this long. I share that with you.
I am the generation that was traumatized by the years of 97 and 98 with the Utes losing in the NCAA finals, with the Jazz losing twice to the Bulls. So there's some deep sadness still in my chest from those years ago. But what you have to, we can be sort of flippant about it, but also recognize the jobs that were lost, the economic activity that was lost. A huge story of the last year has been the juggernaut of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour and the economic impact that has in every single city. That is what these teams have for decades and decades in their own cities. And so when they leave, you're not just losing jobs, but you're also losing, the restaurants get hurt, the hotels get hurt, the whole downtown area gets hurt.
So when all of that plays into this, and the Smith Entertainment Group asked for nearly $1 billion in subsidies or help and, raising money, is there anything you can do as a city or as a city council to push back on that? Because you laid it out so well. It affects so many thousands of people, tens of thousands of jobs, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. How do you push back and say, no, now you're asking for too much? How does that negotiation go? Because it does feel like they have all of the leverage.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing some of these, the release of some of these negotiations, that they are going to get $1 to $3 per ticket. And I thought that was great information from Lindsay. I just assumed it was jazz or hockey tickets, but that's everything. Every single concert, every event, everything. Well, that will go into a fund that is assisting the city, and that they're also saying, hey, we're needing, some of this money is going to go to revitalizing the surrounding area. And I think a lot of people are probably wondering what Japantown is, because you work a couple blocks away. Right. But unless you've driven or walked in between the Salt Palace and the Jazz or the Delta Center, you don't know that there is this little historic area that is important to a community and has historic significance.
I hadn't thought about that, but that you're absolutely right. It's almost the public pressure of announcing these negotiations. There was the, hey, we're going to throw a helipad on top, and they were like, what are we doing with the helipad? Never mind, no helipad. That's almost how it went when the public got involved. And they are looking at $525 million in renovations to the Delta Center, $375 million for other projects. They've negotiated, again, this $1 to $3 fee on all of the Jazz game, the hockey, the Taylor Swift concerts. I did some rough calculations, and the Jazz sell out, and they've sold out over almost 300 straight games. They have 18,000 seats. That's going to raise, just from the Jazz, over $2.2 million just in fees.
Yeah.
Now, the hockey club has the same amount of games. They'll probably raise a similar amount, and then you start adding in all of the concerts and the Disney on Ice things that are going on.
I love that Disney on Ice is now the thing that's stuck in our
Isn't
head.
that funny?
Thank you, Lindsay.
She said Disney on Ice, and I'm like, it was a Frozen? Are they doing the Frozen one this year? But you're talking about $5-6 million perhaps every year from this, and you extrapolate that out over 30 years, that ends up being real money.
It ends up being real money, and that is something that's going into the city. And we've seen what happens with downtowns when they lose teams, when people start moving out. Salt Lake City has a lot of people moving in. If you're driving up 4th South or driving around downtown, there are so many big apartment buildings. It's clear that this is still a city on the rise. People want to live here, and it needs this as part of its economy and part of its downtown vibrancy.
And the fear
is the argument.
Yes, absolutely, and I think justifiably so. If the Jazz were to move, if hockey was to move, even if it's down to Draper, Sandy, wherever it might be, somewhere besides downtown Salt Lake, you could have a blighted downtown, because that's where all the shiny new toys are. shiny pretty penny. But yeah, this is something. As we're watching it unfold, we will keep a very close eye on this. But yeah, it looks like you're going to have to pay a few extra bucks for your tickets anytime you go to the Delta Center. That's going to go down for the Downtown Revitalization Project. Please, for the love, people, 57500. Give us a better name. I will start the trend for you. I promise. If you give me something like the Big Dig, that would be incredible. We need to frame it better than Downtown Revitalization Project. I just can't say that for the next 6 years.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah State University being criticized for its lax cronyism policies after an employee who was living with an administrator was paid for 2 years but never showed up for work. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly has that story.
The employee in question was not only friends with the associate head of one of the USU departments, they lived together and never told the university. The Salt Lake Tribune reports the school wound up paying more than $157,000 to the no-show employee through grant money.
3 other department heads were also friends with the employee and did not report the situation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Police in the Dallas area have arrested a suspect in dozens of so-called swatting cases from Oregon to Pennsylvania. This started in May with a call to police that sent a SWAT team to a house in St. Paul, Texas. This was a false alarm, but investigators traced the call 100 miles away to East Texas, with one person thought responsible for swatting calls and bomb threats to homes and schools and grocery stores and other businesses in at least 10 states. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average looks like, we're going to have to get back to that in just a moment. But we'll take a look at traffic and weather together coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about soft water, and yes, I do have strong opinions about soft water, is because I've lived through the hard water years in the Noriega household. Hard water is something that Utah is infamous for. We have some of the hardest water in the entire country. And I had Connecticut of Utah come out to my house, and they started walking me through all the places where you notice hard water. Think about your faucets and the hard water stains that build up around the faucets when you do your dishes. And you take out your glasses, and they have these hard water spots that you're trying to scrub off because they still look dirty, even though they are technically clean. Where I noticed it most in our family, we have very dry skin, really smart to go live in a desert, but we have very dry skin, and soft water has played a huge role in keeping our skin healthy, soft, hydrated, and we've loved it. They told us, you'll be able to tell the difference the first time you take a shower, and sure enough, that has been the case. So if you're interested in soft water, the Connecticut water system is so effective. It uses 2/3 less salt than everybody else. Connecticut is an authorized Connecticut dealer. Softwaterutah.com is the website, but go ahead and give them a call, 801-576-8600, 801-576-8600.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. Get 6 times longer lasting freshness plus odor protection with Downy Unstoppables in-wash scent beads.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Stop paying 5-star pricing for 3-star service. It's time for a change.
Welcome to Beehive Plumbing's Premier Experience. With our Beehive Premier plan, you have access to our VIP phone number and website to ensure prompt and reliable plumbing service by an expert 5-star technician. Why Beehive? Our Premier package comes with an industry-leading warranty, giving you up to 10 years of coverage on both parts and labor. Yeah, that's right, 10-year warranty. Call Beehive Plumbing today or visit beehivepremier.com for expert experience every time.
Well, and looking at our markets here, the Dow is down 61 points, the NASDAQ up 81. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Well, it was a very quiet morning commute, but we've got a pretty significant accident now. Northbound I-15, this is approaching the 3300 South off-ramp. Looks like 4 right lanes are blocked there. Can't tell exactly how many cars are involved, but you're only getting by in the HOV lane and the far left lane as you travel northbound. Heavy delays stretching back all the way through the Murray area at this point. Everything else, though, is still running pretty smoothly along the rest of the Wasatch Front. When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection for locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Truck Country. See it all at performancebountiful.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Weather will be sunny today, 88 for a high. Sunshine again on the 4th of July with a high of 86. Warming trend starts Friday, reaches 100 degrees early next week. And right now we're at 75 degrees. It's sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I'm excited that I have my co-host today, that is Morgan Lyon-Cotti from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And Morgan, because we're going to talk about the closest race I've seen in a while right now, and that's Congressional District 2. It's the Republican primary between Celeste Malloy and Colby Jenkins. And ballots are still trickling in. And we're over a week out, and we are still waiting for results. And this race is getting closer and closer. Last Wednesday, so this time last week, Celeste Malloy held a fairly comfortable lead. She was up 2,900 votes, 52-48. I guess, well, it feels comfortable compared to what it is now.
Yes.
I guess 3,000 votes is not that comfortable when you're talking over 100,000 votes cast. But yeah, it seems like downright balmy weather in Hawaii right now, because right now the latest batch of ballots just dropped, and her lead has shrunk down to 302 votes. 309?
302.
Yeah,
You're
302. Right. Okay. What in the world happened? This is, I mean, it's so wildly, it's kind of interesting to me on several different levels. Number one, these are not two well-known candidates, even though Celeste Malloy is the incumbent. She's only technically the incumbent. She's been doing the job for 6 months.
Right.
After the special election, Chris Stewart steps down. She wins the special election. But what do you make of this race?
Well, I think we've seen through the last few election cycles that the people who are deciding late and dropping off those ballots on election day, that they just lean more conservative in our state. So we have seen this, that it tightens. And it just hasn't tightened for her. John Curtis used to be above 50%. I think he's at about 47%. The governor, the governor still has won his primary, but that has tightened a little bit. So you're just seeing those more conservative voters candidates are increasing their vote share as these ballots get counted. But we're really paying attention here because it has made this so narrow, and we're just a few dozen votes away from being in the automatic recount territory.
The automatic recount is expected to be around 266. We're at 302. So 40 votes separates the recount from the automatic, or the automatic recount from just outright victory. Coming up, we're gonna speak to a director of elections in Davis County to walk through what does a recount look like, how does that even work, even though this isn't necessarily in his district, but obviously everyone plays by the same rules, or largely the same rules when it comes to the recounts. But Celeste Malloy, very interesting, because we had her on last week, and she described just how onerous the campaigning process has been for her. I didn't realize how many races, how many campaigns, how many votes that have taken place in the last 12 months. Here's Celeste Malloy.
I pointed out to the press last night that it was on June 24th last year that I won at that special convention in Delta. And it was June 25th this year that we had the primary. So I've run in a convention, primary, general, convention, and primary in 12 months. 5 races, not for wins.
And then if she wins, she'll have a 6th race in November. I mean, the House of Representatives always, every 2 years you pop up. It feels like you're running nonstop. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, this is intense. I mean, John Curtis did experience something similar when he ran in 2017. If I remember, I think his was a little earlier in the process.
When Chaffetz drops out.
By when Chaffetz resigned, by just a few, maybe even a couple months. But it is this same thing, but these very, very competitive elections. And we thought her primary last year was close, and she won that by, if I remember, 8 points. And this obviously is much closer. And I heard Congresswoman Malloy speak at a Utah Women Run event, and actually one of her challengers from last year, Becky Edwards, was there. And she was talking. They were very just showed a great amount of dignity and respect to one another as they both spoke to this group of women. But Malloy was saying how hard it was to campaign last year, and then said, and now as a member of Congress, my days are even longer, and I have this huge district. And that is sort of when she was starting to ramp up this campaign as well. So absolutely zero rest for her over the last year with this process.
She had gotten on basically a red-eye flight almost immediately after and headed back to D.C., and she was in meetings. I look at that and I think, I ask you, we start so early in the campaigning process, and it almost has gotten to the point where you're just running and fundraising 24/7. Maybe the Senate, your 6-year terms, you get a little bit more of a reprieve that way. But is there anything, a proposal or something in place that may put some parameters that doesn't require our elected officials to spend more time campaigning than actually doing the job itself?
Yeah, that is just a huge negative that people like to bring up about this, and it is very valid. But the House was created by the founders to be like this, to have to be responsive to constituents. They obviously didn't foresee this 24-hour news cycle and the amount of money that is now in politics and elections. But I think there would just be major pushback if people tried to turn this into an every 4-year thing, because that is a wonderful premise, a wonderful idea that members of Congress are supposed to be able to be very accountable, that voters are supposed to be able to kick them out if they don't like a vote or if they don't like the way they're acting.
We spoke with Colby Jenkins yesterday, and to get his thoughts again, I'm sure both of them are just chugging Pepto-Bismol left and right every day at 4 o'clock when the latest update comes out.
I feel like I'm doing that, and I don't even have a stake in this. I just get so nervous for them.
It's so nerve-wracking. Here's Colby Jenkins.
All the other three members of Congress here in Utah, even President Trump rallied around Celeste. And here we are, starting from nowhere, being outspent 3-1 at least, and we're down to hundreds of votes. So the American dream is very much alive. People want change. They're tired of the establishment rallying around each other and protecting the gravy train. They want change. They want people who will control government spending and protect the Constitution. And
Representative Malloy had a lot of wind in her sails, got a lot of support, but nevertheless, Colby Jenkins has run a very powerful campaign, and be able to keep it within just a few hundred votes is, I know he probably cringes at this, like a moral victory, but it really is an impressive showing.
It is, and I think you also have to point out to, that early endorsement from Lee, I think, helped him. And also, I think really helped him in Washington County and his ties to Washington County. I think people just assumed maybe Malloy would be fine down there. But Jenkins has outperformed her in Washington County. And that, people like to talk about Davis or Salt Lake counties, but it's just a portion of both those counties in this district. It's all of Washington County. And if you perform well down there, it is hard for other candidates.
Washington County is starting to realize the kind of sway and the power they have in this district, and they're starting to flex some muscle, no question. Now, coming up next, we want to talk to the Davis County Clerk. There's several questions that I want to talk about, what a recount would look like, how that works. But I also saw this line in a KSL.com article regarding this race in Congressional District 2. It said, most of the 13 counties, the districts, there's a few dozen ballots that are still outstanding. But they are waiting to hear back from several hundred GOP voters whose mail-in ballots were challenged because the signatures on the ballot don't match the signatures on record. It sounds very ominous. It's not nearly as ominous as it sounds, and we'll get Brian McKenzie from the Davis County Clerk to explain what that means next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This is the first summer I've looked forward to in a long time because it's the first one since I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight with the help of my friends at Soda Weight Loss. I can't overstate how much it matters to have your own personal nutritionist to assist you on your health journey. And you get that at Soda Weight Loss with coaching, support, and real help, 100% over the phone. I agree with my friend Sandy, who says her Soda dietitians and nutritionists felt like family.
They rooted for me. They wanted me to succeed. For me, that was so big, is having someone in your corner.
Come find out what Sandy and I have learned. Soda works. Go to SOTAweightloss.com, click Request a Nutritionist Callback, and within minutes you'll be talking to someone who truly wants to help you get in the best shape of your life. Let me tell you, the hottest days of summer, well, they feel a lot less hot without that fat layer surrounding me, and I no longer want to avoid going to the pool with my kids. So start your own journey at SOTAweightloss.com because SOTA stands for, say it with me, State of the Art.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
July is National Cashback Month. Didn't know? Okay, maybe it's not National Cashback Month. But at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, they think a cashback month is a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Told ya. So get ready for Cashback in July.
Cashback in July?
Okay, that's enough. But first, let's talk benefits of being a member at Hercules. You'll receive $150 when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit, as well as getting access to travel rewards and cash back with the Hercules Lifestyle Rewards debit card. Get up to 25% cash back when you use Ticket Express to purchase tickets for theme parks, movie theaters, and local events starting July 1st through the 31st. Details await at HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com. Hercules Credit Union, growing stronger together. Equal housing lender, all accounts insured to $250,000 by NCUA.
This summer, bring your family together with a beautiful Bullfrog Spa to relax and connect with each other in your own perfect backyard gathering spot. Only Bullfrog Spas provides award-winning designs and personalized hot tub hydrotherapy for the whole family. Right now, get up to $4,000 off MSRP, plus a free accessories package at Bullfrog Spa's Independence Day sale. And ask about our limited clearance models for even bigger savings. Stop by your nearby Bullfrog Spa's factory store today.
Bullfrog Spas. Peaceful body, peaceful mind, peaceful home.
It's complicated. These days, that's how people even describe their relationship status. When it comes to the latest complexities in your car, it's gotten really complicated. The experts at AMCO undergo the most rigorous training to stay on top of the latest car technologies, so there's nothing we can't fix. Well, except for that complicated relationship. When it comes to that, you're on your own. AA, MCO. Check engine light on? We'll check it for free.
If you're a sports fan, you need to be at the biggest sports fanatic event ever created, Ultimate Sports Bash. Happening July 12th and 13th at Mountain America Expo Center. Watch performances by the dunk team that you've seen perform at the Utah Jazz games, pickleball, wrestling, and half-pipe performers. With clinics and panels with some of your favorite athletes and coaches, like Ute football coach Kyle Whittingham. Meet your heroes, like Jazz royalty Brian Russell and Greg Ostertag. BYU alum, Minnesota Vikings QB Jaron Hall. Utes alum, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Britton Covey. And Wheels, formerly of Nitro Circus. There's even a sports car show. All the panels, performances, photo ops, and autographs you can smash into 2 days. Tickets on sale now at ultimatesportsbash.com. And now offering a 2-day family pass for just $150. Get yours now at ultimatesportsbash.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an employee who didn't show up for work for 2 years has Utah State looking at its employment policies. Second, police in Texas have arrested a suspect who may be responsible for dozens of swatting cases in several states. And third, President Biden talking to members of Congress about his debate performance, trying to convince them he should continue his campaign. 75 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We're more than a week in. We still don't know who the victor is in Congressional District 2. That's the race between current Representative Celeste Malloy and her challenger Colby Jenkins. Only 302 votes separate the two. Every day at 4 o'clock, I'm waiting for the latest batch of ballots to be released to see how closely this thing gets. Last Wednesday, the lead was about 2,900 votes. Now it's been whittled down to 302 votes. Morgan Lyon-Cotti joins me today, filling in for Debbie Dujanovic from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And Morgan, we've had some close races. This one is razor thin.
This is razor thin. And in 2018, we had one of the closest congressional races in the country between Mia Love and Ben McAdams.
Oh, yeah.
We also had one
How
of the
close
closest.
was that one?
That was, so the automatic recount is 0.25%. And that was
So a quarter of a percent.
Quarter of a
Okay.
percent. And that was 0.258.
So
So close. So
Holy
just, I think
cow.
about 600 votes. And again, with Mia Love and Matheson in 2012, again, one of the closest races in the country. So this is territory that we are familiar with, but still when it happens, we can't help but just be refreshing electionresults.utah.gov.
Refresh.
And they
Did we
haven't-
crash that system yet?
Maybe.
On
And they
Wednesday?
haven't, the 4 o'clock has not been as consistent as in years past.
I want
getting
it right at 4.
Like maybe 2:23, you might get Juab, and then Salt Lake, just maybe not till 4:55.
Oh, I'm with you. I would like some consistency. Then I don't have to monitor it all day, every day. But there are 13 counties in the district, and they still need to process a few dozen ballots. So is that enough to make up the difference? Maybe not. But there are still several hundred GOP voters whose mail-in ballots were challenged because of signatures that don't match those that are on record. Now, that kind of sounds ominous that, wait, the signatures don't match? So we wanted to reach out to a county clerk and have him walk us through what this really means. So even though Davis County doesn't have a dog in this race or a horse in this race, Brian McKenzie joins us right now. Can you help us understand, Brian, what that means that the signatures don't match those that are on the record?
Yeah, Dave Morgan, great to be with you. And actually, yes, Davis County is a participant in this CD2 race. So yes, all eyes are on us as well.
Oh, okay. There's a little sliver of that's right, the southern part of Davis County.
Southern part of us, we're in there. But if anybody ever questions and wonders that their ballot doesn't matter or doesn't count, it absolutely does, especially in these close races. So yeah, as it relates to these signatures that are challenged, as ballots are brought into our office and we have to review them, the signature has to match the signature we have on file with the voter. If it doesn't, it becomes a challenged ballot, and our state law requires our election officers to reach out by telephone, text, or email, or regular mail to notify the voters that, hey, there's some sort of a problem with their ballot, and it gives the voter an opportunity to cure that ballot or resolve it. And that time frame ends on 3 days prior to the canvass when the elections are certified.
So you've got maybe 10 or 11 days to contact that individual, and if they don't answer their email or their text or telephone call, if they don't do that, what happens to that ballot?
So if the voter does not cure the ballot, then it remains challenged and it would not be counted.
So how many ballots do you have left to cure in Davis County?
These numbers are really, really small. You're looking at 1% or less of the total ballots that are involved in the election. So it is a very small number, but those small numbers matter when you have close races, of course. So for Davis County, we're sitting at about 500, just a little over 500 ballots out of the nearly 57,000 ballots that were turned into our office.
And you heard us talking before about automatic recount is 0.25%. We don't see those very often, but so can you just walk us through, if we do get into that territory with the 2nd Congressional District, what does that look like?
Yeah, so under our state law with a recount, as you mentioned, it does have to have the total difference of votes between the winning and losing candidate has to be 0.25% or less than the total votes for all candidates in the race. If that threshold is met, then a candidate has to request a recount. If that happens, then all ballots that are involved in that race are recounted. So they go through, we have to recount them. There will be an additional audit that takes place. We will also be required to go back and re-review any of those ballots that have been challenged to make sure that they should have been challenged and that there's no question there. So it kind of gives us an opportunity to go back and reevaluate everything that has been done and redo everything that has been done to make sure that the ballots that were counted were 100% accurate and that the results are what they are.
So those challenged ballots that may not hit the deadline, on a recount, would you have additional time to try to verify that signature?
Not to resolve it. So that time to cure it for the voter has ended. But what it would do is it would require an additional review of all of those signatures that have been challenged to ensure that they were truly challenged. Now, of course, those reviews have already been done multiple times by your county clerks, but under a recount process, it does have to be done one more time just to make sure.
So what do you say to those voters that get the call that says, hey, your signature isn't quite matching? Because we know signatures change over time. Because, again, we're talking about these big races, but we know in these small localities, some of these legislative and other primaries, these are within even closer margins. So what do you say to people about coming in and making sure their vote is counted?
Do it. Get it done. You have some great opportunities there. Our job as election officials is to make sure that everybody who's eligible to vote has the opportunity to vote, and everybody that has voted has their ballot counted and counted accurately. That's what we do. At the end, whatever the results are, that's up to the candidates to celebrate or to have sorrow. But for us, we want to have every ballot counted that can be counted.
Brian McKenzie, thank you for joining us, Davis County Clerk. And as a little public service announcement for you, Brian, I will tell people, listen, just have a consistent signature. It doesn't have to be a pretty signature. It can be a garbage signature that you just scratch across. The county clerks just need it to be consistent, folks. It doesn't need to be pretty. Just be consistent from year to year. And if it does radically change, you got to let them know. You actually will sign an affidavit that says, yep, my signature has changed. But thank you, Brian McKenzie, for joining us, and we will keep a very close eye on what happens with Congressional District 2 as Celeste Malloy and Colby Jenkins are separated by only 302 votes.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, we're counting down 21 days until the historic announcement, Salt Lake City 2034.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, UDOT anticipating some holiday travel delays, but they don't think they'll be as bad as some of the other major holidays. UDOT spokesperson Mitch Shaw says they don't think delays will exceed 10 minutes anywhere on the Wasatch Front. They're also asking people to drive safely and courteously.
If you're stuck in traffic, or even if somebody cuts you off or does something that's really egregious, it's not worth reacting to it. Your life will go on.
Shaw says the delays will likely start around 3 or 4 o'clock on I-15 northbound in Davis County and north and southbound in Salt Lake County, southbound around Nephi. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden is blaming his recent international travel for his poor performance in last week's debate with Donald Trump. Some leading Democrats are talking about Biden's fitness for a second term in public now, and President Biden is meeting with Democratic governors and members of Congress, hoping to persuade them to support his ongoing campaign. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 93 points, the NASDAQ up 117. And it looks like a lovely 4th of July, not too hot. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
In a world where ugly siding, leaky gutters, and inefficient windows are sapping homeowners of their will to live, one company must save us all. This year, join RGS Exteriors as it embarks on a mission to eliminate outdated home exteriors, one Utah home at a time. Every plank of old, ugly siding must be replaced. Every leaky gutter must be eradicated. Every inefficient, energy-sapping window must be vanquished. Once and for all. Begin your epic remodeling quest by calling RGS Exteriors for a free estimate. Discover how a heroic team of experts will save your siding, gutters, or windows for a fair, no-nonsense price. Call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or journey online to rgsexteriors.com. RGS Exteriors, coming soon to a home near you.
Summer is upon us, and do you know what your lawn wants? It wants Revive Organic Soil Treatment upon it. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn all summer. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. You'll see the difference. Revive is surefire defense against summer drought and skyrocketing water costs. Make the most of your watering with Revive Organic Soil Treatment. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Is using separate office technology like business telephones, chat, video conferencing, and file transferring complicated and pricey? What if all of those things were bundled into one simple product that has over 99.9% uptime, crystal clear quality, and is affordable? And what if you could get your business telephone bundle from a proven office technology partner like Les Olson IT? You can.
Les Olson.
Olsen IT.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
And we're still seeing the leftovers of this accident northbound I-15 as you approach the 3300 South exit. A couple of cars still off to the right side. They've reopened almost all the lanes. The right lane is still blocked, and that's the beginning of the exit lane. But you can still exit there. You just have to go down a little bit further. The delays, however, are stretching all the way back about to the South Interchange. Speaking of the South Interchange, if you are exiting off there to head on to 215, it's pretty sluggish in the off-ramp there. At this point, no accidents going on, just some sluggish traffic, so you may have to leave yourself just a little extra time to get through that stretch at this point. To get more in 2024 at the Ute Stampede Rodeo, July 10th through 13th. 90 years of family entertainment, carnival, flying cowboys, live music, and extreme bulls, July 10th. Package pricing, visit UteStampedeRodeo.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Perfect weather for the 4th of July. Sunny skies and a high of only 86. Right now, 75 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Just about an hour ago, the New York Times published an article that says Biden told an ally that he is weighing whether to continue in the race. Holy smokes. What started off as a little bit of a whisper, a little awkward conversation after the debate, has turned into a full-blown conversation amongst Democrats and even President Biden himself about whether or not he should stay in the race. We are in July, and the current president is mulling whether or not to stay in the race. Morgan Lyon-Cotti from the Hinckley Institute of Politics joins us. To say this is unprecedented is such an understatement. That there's even whisperings amongst themselves is monumental.
This is certainly unprecedented in the era of presidential primaries. The convention used to be where they decided, where the parties decided, but now it's more of a coronation. We've had the primaries, the voters have decided, and that is where we are. The voters have decided. He has all of the delegates. And I've just thought this was so interesting all week or throughout the past week as we've heard these conversations, because none of it really matters unless Biden actually steps out. And this is a man who views himself as an underdog, as always having to fight to prove himself. So this whole thing just would fit very nicely into that narrative. So reports that he is actually thinking about stepping down, that's monumental.
It is monumental. And we heard from pundits after the debate, and many were saying so uncomfortable and trying to figure out, okay, well, what could happen and what's the practicality of it? But we hadn't heard any current members of Congress or of the party really call for President Biden to step down. We had heard former Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill the day after the debate or shortly after the debate say these things.
Nobody is a bigger fan of Kamala Harris than I am. And Gavin Newsom did a remarkable job tonight as a surrogate. And what he said, it's not that I disagree with anything they're saying, but those two people are signaling to a whole lot of Americans that are paying attention, how come they're not running?
So the whispers start, and now Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas was speaking to CNN yesterday and said this.
I salute President Biden. I just feel that it's time for him to step aside if we were to be able to protect what he allowed us to gain in 2020, which was a victory for democracy, but he delivered us from Trump then. He could be delivering us to Trump this year if we have more of what happened last Thursday.
So, Morgan, when you hear the rank and file start speaking up, now this is just one Democratic representative, right? Just one. Does this open the door for others to be vocal, even more vocal? Or is this a one-off?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he's a one-off. But they have had I think just the fact that no one challenged Biden, because even sometimes with popular incumbents, you'll see a rogue Republican or Democrat still try to challenge them in the primary.
It happened here in Utah.
Right.
Spencer Cox gets challenged within his own party.
Of course. The fact that no one challenged Biden showed that they had very good party discipline. That even though 4 years ago there was, I was about to say unspoken, but it was discussed. He was sort of put up as this bridge candidate. I'll save you from Trump. I'll just serve one term. And that is, when people bring that up, the party line is he never signed anything. He never explicitly said anything. We all support him. He's great. And now we're starting to see cracks in that. And we'll see if this congressman, maybe he's a one-off, but he may be the crack for many others to start saying the same thing.
So I think everything that's being asked is certainly these are fair questions to ask, and especially after the performance, after the debate, even more so. Let's talk about the timing of it, though. This conversation, to your point, probably should have been had a year ago. Right now, we're 4 months out from the election.
Yeah. It should have had 3 years ago at the latest. And perhaps they worried that Trump, a really competitive primary where Democrats were all tearing each other down, would just help Trump. But now we're in a scenario where, unfortunately, I actually heard in an interview with Dave Axelrod, who worked on Obama's campaigns, he said he thought that the debates for this election would be more important than any other debates, and they might be the most important. And we're seeing that is pretty true. So they're trying to salvage things because they didn't have those hard conversations. And if Biden does step down and says, this is who I'm supporting for president, this is who I'm supporting for vice president, that doesn't mean the delegates are going to agree. And they may have a battle and a contested convention, and that would be even worse for or I shouldn't say would be, that might be worse for Democrats.
So what happens with a contested convention? Because you phrased it so perfectly. It really has turned into a coronation where you just show up, everyone, gets excited. What would a contested convention even look like?
We saw inklings of this in 2016 on both the Republican and the Democratic side, as those Bernie delegates were trying to get, rally support and get enough votes to have Sanders be the nominee instead of Hillary Clinton. And we also saw Republicans challenging Trump. They didn't think that he could win. So we saw sort of those inklings, but it really just goes to many, many ballots. Actually, we see that with our own state convention. As candidates are trying to get to 60%, we'll see them go to 4 or 5 or 6 ballots. If anybody is curious, there is a West Wing episode where they go to 40 ballots, I can't remember, at a Democratic convention. West Wing can be a great educational tool.
I'm going to have to go watch that episode.
I know, it's a good one. They're all good ones. But that is what happens. If someone doesn't have the requisite number of delegates to become the nominee, they just have to keep voting.
And with just a few months left, does that improve the chances at all for the Democrats to hold on to the White House? A CNN poll says that most voters think the Democrats do have a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden isn't the nominee.
Yeah, I can't speculate. This is just such uncharted waters. But all you can look at is right now, not only national polls is Biden down, but in the competitive states, he's trailing. Even Pennsylvania, he's trailing. So the question for them has to be, can he fight back? His recent appearances have been very good. They're trying to get him to do more interviews, show he's okay, so that maybe in a few months they can look back and say, oh, the debate was a blip. Or do they take a different gamble and say, even with the confusion and the chaos, maybe a Gavin Newsom or maybe a Kamala Harris will have a better chance in November?
He is scheduled to have a sit-down interview with George Stephanopoulos this week. That could be a very interesting post-debate interview. I'm looking forward to that and hearing from the president. You mentioned a couple of names, and let's go through some of the list, because I think everybody loves the hypothetical candidate. I mean, we saw this from No Labels, right? We're going to bring people together. We're going to have a Republican. We're going to have a Democrat. Bring them together. And then once you start throwing out names, you'll hear, well, not that guy, not her. Nobody likes the actual candidates. They always love the hypothetical, mythical, the idea of the perfect candidate. And there's no perfect candidate. They're all flawed in some ways. So let's go through some of the names out there, and we can talk about maybe the pros and the cons that they would bring if indeed President Biden decided to step down, not run for president, and kind of throws the whole world into chaos. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, you there with a sparkler or that 500-gram Ariel? Keep a water hose nearby, and for heaven's sake, don't light them out of bounds. And bonus points if you lay off after midnight. We all love fireworks, but we love safe homes and a good night's sleep. A reminder from your friends at KSL News Radio.
A secure retirement just doesn't happen by accident. When that day comes, what's most important to you? Are you sure to have more money than month? What about unexpected medical costs? Do you want to leave something to the kids or the grandkids? I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know we specialize in these questions and can help make your retirement dream a reality with some of the highest guarantees in the business. Imagine getting up to a guaranteed 12% growth on your retirement income and up to a 30% bonus up front just for opening an account. If you have funds sitting idle in an old 401k or IRA, consider guaranteeing it to secure the peace of mind you deserve. Don't leave your financial security to chance. Take advantage of the highest guarantees I've seen in my career. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Or visit us online at TrajanWealth.com.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
So I'm Kate. This is my 4th year with Mountain Heights Academy. They're very helpful because you get that one-on-one interaction with your teachers. And it's live too, so they're talking to you and you're talking to them. If you have a question, even outside of their office hours, they'll be like, what's up, I want to help you as much as possible, so that you can be successful and get the grades that you deserve.
Mountain Heights Academy is an online public school for grades 7 through 12. Visit our website to learn how it can work for you.
You know, in Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, UDOT says we'll see travel delays for those leaving town this 4th of July. Second, President Biden talking to members of Congress about his debate performance, trying to convince them he should continue his campaign. Third, July 4th, the time for Orem's Colonial Festival at Sarah Park. 75 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
There's been whispers. Now they're turning into just comments. We're not at the shouting point yet of whether or not Democrats say President Joe Biden should drop out and let somebody else take the reins and run for president. In fact, Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas said this to CNN yesterday.
I salute President Biden. I just feel that it's time for him to step aside if we were to be able to protect what he allowed us to gain in 2020, which was a victory for democracy, but he delivered us from Trump then. He could be delivering us to Trump this year if we have more of what happened last Thursday.
Congressman Doggett is the first sitting member of Congress from the Democratic Party to speak out and ask for President Biden to step down. Filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Morgan Lyon-Cotti from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And Morgan, I think there was a sense maybe early on that, okay, that was a bad performance. Debates typically don't, change everything. So are you a little bit surprised that it didn't die down and that it's maybe not only, gotten more legs, but it's starting to boil up and bubble over?
I will admit that I thought this would just be a couple of news cycles and we'd be on to the next, but I think the worry about Biden's age, his mental fitness, this is something we were talking about 4 years ago. And, Trump's debate performance, people are used to, he did what people expected. He was Trump. But Biden did what people worried about. They were worried about him not being fit to be president. And this is not happening in a bubble. The campaign can try to say, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But everybody knows what it's like when you haven't seen a parent or a great-grandparent or a grandparent in so long, and all of a sudden you say, something's different. And when the whole country has that moment, it's hard to move on from that.
And the Biden family got together over the weekend at Camp David, and they were discussing whether or not Dad or Grandpa should continue. And it came back that, stay in, keep battling it out. But the New York Times just posted not long ago that Biden told an ally that he is weighing whether or not to continue in the race just a few months before the general election, just before the Democratic National Convention, where they select, basically coronate President Biden. He's got all of the technical requirements taken care of. So I have found that whenever people say drop out, let somebody else take your place, it's very easy to say that until you start putting names to, okay, if he does drop out, then who specifically would replace him? And there are a number of names that have come out, and the Deseret News conducted a poll from Harris not long ago within, I want to say, the last several months. So this was back in February. The number one person that all voters wanted, Michelle Obama.
And she's been very clear she's not interested in that job. She knows what that job looks like.
She's like, I've been there. I know what it is. I have no interest in politics. She said that, I think, in her Netflix documentary. You're right. Yeah. She's been very clear.
But it is amazing the popularity that woman has. It's something to behold.
She was number one. Number two was Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was the number one selection amongst Democratic voters. Makes sense. She is the vice president. It's very easy to, I guess, imagine her taking over in that way.
But still, there is this narrative. I do find that interesting because there is this narrative that people don't want her, that she's unlikable. And there's not much to grasp on that. It's just something that is out there. People usually can't say, well, I don't like her because of this. But it is interesting that she is, up there.
Yeah. There's obviously Michelle Obama is kind of that pie in the sky. She's never had to run a campaign or be challenged in that way, though she obviously lived in the limelight for 8 years under Obama's presidency. So Kamala Harris was the next most popular. Oddly enough, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton came in next. And that stood out to me, obviously, with Hillary Clinton having already lost to Trump back in 2016, and Bernie Sanders, who is actually older than Joe Biden himself.
And can't get past a primary.
Right.
Yeah.
Never has.
Never has. And at some point, you do have to recognize sometimes these polls do just come down to name ID.
That's a great point. Yeah. And those are, every single one of those people so far has very high name ID. So what are maybe some of the pros and the cons? What would be a pro for Kamala Harris if she were to be the one that comes in at the last minute, and maybe some of the cons if she were the person that replaced Biden if he drops out?
I think the pros is that she is currently in the job that is supposed to be training her to be president. We say that the vice president is a heartbeat away from the president. And we've said that a lot more over the last several decades or the last decade, I should say, as we've seen these older presidential candidates. So she knows everything. She's in the briefings. She knows everything that's happening within the White House, but she also is completely ingrained into the campaign and would know how to continue that messaging. The big con with her as well, or of course, is what we were just saying, is for some reason, those unlikability numbers for her are they're just higher than you'd expect for a vice president who doesn't do too much that's controversial.
Right. And the one thing early on, they did try to put her as kind of the face of the southern border, and to tackle that wasn't doing her any favors
Which
as well.
I think a lot of Democrats were saying, why? You were trying to make her more likable. Why are you giving her the most polarizing issue in the country right now?
Yeah, that was a very difficult thing. And listen, nobody's been able to solve that at the southern border, and to put that kind of on her shoulders, that is didn't do her any favors. Okay, California Governor Gavin Newsom, what are some of the pros and cons? Because he was at the debate, he was running, he was the surrogate, he was promoting, he was even asked, would you consider doing this? Would you replace President Biden if he stepped down? And he deflected all of that. What are some of the pros and cons with Gavin Newsom?
He's young. People have compared him to being a Kennedy. And Americans like electing governors to be president. We have a lot of governors who've been president over the last several decades. But I think right now he's like the shiny, look how composed and put together he is. He's a leader. I think the minute he's put in front of Republicans, we're going to be reminded of the COVID policies, some of the controversial things that have happened in California schools, his stance on LGBTQ issues, which is becoming more and more of an issue for Republicans again. And I think that will be hard for him to try to get some of those middle ground voters.
When you're not being directly challenged and you can kind of be in the background, that level of scrutiny is completely different once you are, I guess, all the opposition research gets shoved in front of your face and the attacks begin. And I'm sure there are plenty of ads that are already produced for all of these candidates, as is probably the case for any reasonable candidate out there.
Yeah. And we've heard Gavin Newsom's name before, and usually what you hear is, oh, he's too liberal, or no, not California. Even though California is a lot. I mean, the votes are already going to the Democrats, so it doesn't matter how many electoral votes it is. But now we're in this time of crisis, and so suddenly Democrats are willing to consider.
Pete Buttigieg, also his name popped up. Dean Phillips, who actually tried to challenge Biden, but that didn't go anywhere. So we do want to take some phone calls in this because I want to hear your thoughts as this starts to gain some momentum. Perhaps if Biden were, as the New York Times says, consider stepping down, who would replace him? This isn't phone calls to badmouth anybody. I just want to hear, why would you want to see a Michelle Obama or a Kamala Harris or a Gavin Newsom? Let us know. What are your feelings? Why do you think that would give Democrats a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden isn't the nominee? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Which Democrat, if you had to put a name to it, would you want to see replace President Joe Biden?
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Mother of a man who died while he was incarcerated being awarded now $2 million by a jury. It was back in 2013 when Jeremy Ouse died in a jail in Salt Lake City. The complaint accused the jail's contractor of not providing Ouse with necessary medications for an acute panic disorder. 8 days into his stay, Ouse died from withdrawal symptoms. The Colonial Heritage Festival is going on for the 4th of July in Orem's Sarah Park. Chairperson Kimberly Gardner says starting today, the park becomes the site of an authentic colonial village.
We have a live working bakery, so you'd smell the food. So, yeah, fire oven, it's wonderful. So, yeah, people got to come. Why not do a free event?
She says people come from out of state to visit the festival. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Prime Minister of Israel is pushing back on a New York Times report that his own generals want a ceasefire in Gaza, even if it leaves Hamas in power. Benjamin Netanyahu says this will not happen, vowing he'll only end the war after what he called the destruction of Hamas and the release of all the hostages. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 72 points, while the NASDAQ is up 140. And our KSL weather. A beautiful day today, another lovely one tomorrow for the 4th of July. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR-certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
Hey, summer's here. Better replace your old air conditioner with up to $4,450 in incentives from First Choice Heating and Air on a new day and night system help.
Don't put it off. Have First Choice Heating and Air install a new day and night heat pump, AC, and furnace and get rebates and tax credits totaling as much as $4,450. You'll be cool all summer and save on your energy bills.
Hi, this is Rob Freeman. Click online to firstchoicecool.com. We have you covered.
The difference is day and night at First Choice Heating and Air.
Hey Utah, when it comes to guiding the growth of our state, you buzzed in with your comments, and we listened to what you had to say. Your feedback on the future of Utah's housing, water, transportation, and open space will continue to help our leaders make important policy decisions, preserving and improving our high quality of life in meaningful ways for years to come. So, thanks for speaking up. Learn more about our state's future at guidingourgrowth.utah.gov.
Good morning. I'm the 25% off window company.
25% off?
It's our biggest discount ever.
So what happened to the 40% off you were offering a couple months ago?
Well,
nothing. It's baloney. Hi, this is Kathy.
The Dog of Window World. When you hear those things, you know you've entered the baloney zone.
Resist the force of the baloney zone.
Call today.
281-8111.
Window World. Simply the best for less. And that's no baloney.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my superhydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Superhydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool has been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
And we're seeing the leftovers of this accident in northbound I-15 approaching 3300 south. It's all but clear now. They picked up the cone, so all lanes are open, just minor leftover delays. Southbound I-15 a little slow right now around 7800 south. They conducted a slowdown there, but no lanes closed. Northbound I-15, though, down in Utah County, have an accident as you are approaching looks like Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit there, and it's off to the right shoulder, but you got delays stretching all the way back down into the Vineyard area if you are headed northbound. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
88 degrees, sunny and breezy today. Tomorrow, just perfect with a high of 86 for the 4th of July. And right now, 79 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're taking your phone calls right now, 801-575-TALK. Let us know if President Biden actually does step down, and the New York Times says that he spoke to a friend and said he is considering stepping down. Nothing official, obviously. Then who should replace President Biden? We want to take your phone calls. And I let's not troll this. You know, let's no Schadenfreude. You know, there was a rough moment there for the president, whether it was just a moment or if that is what is going on right now. Why would you want somebody else, or what would that look like? Morgan Lyon-Cotti is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. And Morgan, we just saw some very interesting numbers from CNN poll. It was a national survey, and they were looking at, okay, Joe Biden is trailing Trump by 6 points right now, which is that lead just keeps growing. And even in some battleground states, Trump has not a big lead, maybe not even a significant lead, but he does have a lead. So they compared how would Trump do in other potential matchups, hypothetical matchups. So he's trailing Biden by 6 points. What if you replace Biden with Pete Buttigieg, with Gavin Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom, with Governor Gretchen Whitmer? Well, that only shrinks Trump's lead by a point.
And I think it's important to remember that polls are snapshots in time, right? So this is where Biden is right now, and that's where those people are right now. So the question is, how would things change? Does Biden have it in him to make up the difference? And does he have more of a chance to make up that difference than these other candidates do?
Right now, there doesn't seem to be a huge groundswell effort or there an anointed heir apparent. They could step in immediately. You know, again, Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, they're still trailing by 4 or 5 points. The one person that does significantly better than all of those is Vice President Kamala Harris. She only trails Trump by 2 points. Still trails, but only trails by 2 points. And we were just talking about this the last segment. The administration hasn't done her any favors as vice president, given her some of the most controversial and difficult topics or issues to tackle.
It's hard to be vice president. You're either very controversial like Dick Cheney, or you're viewed as not really having a job. it's hard to find a positive middle ground.
We're taking your phone calls. Is there a candidate that you could rally around from the Democratic Party if President Joe Biden actually does decide to step down? Let's go to Travis in Daybreak. Travis, is there somebody?
Yeah, at this point, the question I'd like to propose is why not a third option here? I mean, if there's any time, now would be the time to bring in a third-party affiliate. Why does it always have to be Democratic or Republicans? I mean, after what's happening and how embarrassing this is to the country, you would think now would be the time. It's broke. We need to fix it. Why do we got to keep on going the same direction? And everybody's obviously not satisfied with the two decisions we have on the table.
Travis, thank you for the phone call. Morgan, is it because there's a practicality to this? Is that why a third candidate or an independent candidate can't sweep in?
There is, and voters are strategic, and they want their votes to quote unquote count. That's difficult to say, but we've seen Utahns are open to third-party candidates. We have both at the U.S. Senate level, the presidential level, even the gubernatorial, if we go back to the 80s, that third-party candidates have done better in Utah than in a lot of other places. But Democrats, if they want to win the White House, they need to be looking at this, having a good candidate up there, but they also need an inspiring candidate at the top of the ticket that makes people want to vote and then also vote for governor and Senate and legislature and everything down ballot.
Is there any way, if President Biden does decide to step down, that there is any kind of a smooth transition of candidates? Because there are a half dozen candidates that are very possible. Again, we mentioned Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris. Would there be such a power vacuum and they would have this truncated time to try to battle it out and try to figure out who would be the nominee? Is there any way there could be a smooth transition in this?
Well, we've seen there's very good party discipline in not running against Biden. So would they have the same kind of discipline? If history teaches us anything, it's no. Everybody wants to be the person that is the guy. I'm the only one that can beat Trump is what we'll hear. But if they can have the negotiations and, promise people it's not your turn, you can have this in 8 years, or you can have this cabinet position, maybe.
This seems like it would be so incredibly difficult, as tempting as it might be, if President Biden does decide not to run, again, the last minute, at the 11th hour. Is there an upside to being that candidate and you lose? Or was that your one shot?
Oh, I don't know. It is really hard. Once you have lost, especially at a very high level, it is hard to run again. We have seen people lose high-level races and then go on to win lower positions. I do think, though, if, Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom or someone steps in and it doesn't go their way, that there is that asterisk, that it wasn't a real campaign. Yeah. You didn't truly have a shot. You can maybe be the heir apparent for 4 more years or in 4 years. And
it certainly would raise your profile. Right. I think also, though, when you look at Mitt Romney, he loses his election and he does win the Senate race. And there's been a lot of pressure maybe for Senator Romney to run for president again. But he has rejected that, and he's thought about it. He's discussed it with his family, but ultimately decided, I'm not going to go through that again, not put myself through it or my family.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really, really, I don't understand why anyone would want to run. That's a terrible job application process.
It's brutal.
But people feel called to serve. There's something about it that they think they can do it.
I get it. It is clumsy. It is difficult. It's a process, and that is so incredibly difficult. But nevertheless, the fact that President Biden is having these discussions with allies, with friends, with family, and there is a little bit of a push right now. The Democratic Party, a little bit is starting to speak out and say, listen, Mr. President, maybe it is time for you to step down. But we will continue to follow this. Obviously, we were talking about this because Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas spoke up and asked President Biden to step down, and that if he doesn't, that he's essentially handing the election over to Donald Trump. But we will continue to follow this as it unfolds.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You know Master Electrical because they've taken care of your electrical needs for so many years. Since 1954, it's the name that you've trusted. And one of the things I've loved about Master Electrical is they offer an upfront pricing guarantee. And we've all been bitten by bids in the past, right? Where they come out, they're like, oh, I'll knock that out in half a day. Here's a very good bid. You're excited about it. And then 2 weeks later, it's still not done. And the invoice is not what the bid was. Master Electrical doesn't do that. They have an upfront pricing guarantee. And we have some exciting news now. With all of those promises, Master Electrical has joined Mountain Home Services. So not only do you get those electrical needs taken care of, with Mountain Home Services, you get help with your HVAC, heating and air, your plumbing. They are the one-stop shop for your house. Make sure you reach out to them. They're the company that we trust, and so can you. Go to mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com, or give them a call, 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Is arthritic joint pain keeping you from doing the things you love? Quality time with your family. That bone-on-bone pain in your knees or your hips or even your hands can really stop you from living your best life, and it's a great time to be alive right now with the new treatments that are emerging. There are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. QC Kinetics is helping patients like you every day with advanced regenerative medicine, and their treatments can actually accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. They are helping people all over the country and now here in Utah with locations in Mill Creek, Provo, Bountiful, and are ready to help deliver that relief and help that you need to get your life back. This is the future of medicine, and they are offering free consultations right now. So call QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987, 385-766-1987. It's QC Kinetics.
No one knows the importance of a great assist more than Lowe's and Leo Messi. That's why we've teamed up to give MVP's Pro Rewards members 10 times the points when Messi makes an assist during CONMEBOL Copa America USA 2024. Activate this offer starting June 20th, so when Messi assists, you score. Shop the day after an assist to earn those extra points. Not an MVP's Pro Rewards member? Join today. Visit Lowe's.com/Messi for more details.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, UDOT says we'll see travel delays for those leaving town this 4th of July. Second, President Biden talking to members of Congress about his debate performance, trying to convince them he should continue his campaign. Third, July 4th, the time for Orem's Colonial Festival at Sarah Park. 75 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I saw this report from Utah State University, but it actually comes from Susan Madsen, founding director of the Utah Women and Leadership Project. It says the hidden workforce, and she breaks down the numbers of unpaid care work among Utah women in 2024. And folks, it's a big number. There's a lot of unpaid work that women do. This is not a surprise to any woman. Maybe a little surprising to the dads out there, the husbands out there, of how much it is estimated that women essentially donate in this unpaid work. Now, Morgan Lyon-Cotti fills in for Debbie Dujanovic today. When we're talking about unpaid work, what are we talking about?
We're talking about that care that, and we should say women and men do, we'll read the numbers, for children, for parents, for grandparents, for, things you don't do at your job where you have a salary, caring to make sure people are healthy and safe and well.
Women worldwide spend significantly more time than men performing these critical tasks, as you were mentioning. In our families, our communities, and the nations, this unpaid work of raising kids, taking care of elderly parents or grandparents, whatever it might be. But women's unpaid work is estimated to be $10.8 trillion annually.
With
That's
a
lot
T.
of money.
With a T.
That's a third of the national debt.
Well, and the thing that I find interesting is we do see this discrepancy between the number of hours women put in and men. And we do see this as shrinking, but we still have this gap between the national average and Utah. Nationally, women are doing about 4.9 hours a day compared to men at 3.8. So we have a difference, 1.1 hours. But in Utah, it's the difference of almost 5.6 hours for women and 3.2 for men. That means women are doing almost 2.5 hours more a day.
Now, the most common place we see this is in childcare. According to this, childcare is the most common form of unpaid work. And again, significant here in Utah. We have one of the highest fertility rates. We have large families, and the largest share of women are raising these children. So I can't say I'm surprised in any way that would be the case. Susan Madsen joining us right now, founding director of the Utah Women in Leadership Project. And Susan, we were just talking about the nearly $11 trillion annually that women provide in unpaid work. That is a staggering number, and we are seeing it even here in Utah that it's even larger than the national averages.
Yes, that is the case. We just put out this research that updated our numbers, and it's challenging to find some of the stats, but we know in more conservative religious cultures that women tend to do more unpaid work. But that's not unique to Utah more generally. All states, women in all states and countries tend to do more unpaid care work than do their partners, spouses.
And Dr. Mattson, I think it's so interesting. We are seeing this gap shrinking ever so slightly.
Yes.
Why is it shrinking, and why won't it shrink faster?
Well,
I
I
ask
think,
very selfishly.
Yes, you do. You do. I think as we look at, and we just have general research, U.S. research to tell us this, but some of the younger folks, especially you look at the newly married or partnered couples, there's an expectation by many that both men and women will work outside the home, and that's a necessity. You look at the housing prices in Utah and all of the costs, and that's really a necessity. And so you do see that culture changing somewhat. But it's still, and when we look at unpaid care work, let me just say for those listeners, we're including not just child care and housework, but we're also putting into that equation elder care and just other tasks as well. And women get this term when I say it, and that is on top of the domestic labor and the child care, there is an emotional, what's called an emotional load or an emotional labor. That's I have to say, many men don't understand that.
And can you talk a little bit more about that emotional labor?
Yeah.
Because you're quoted in this article about the importance of a mother's mental well-being. So what that emotional labor is and how that can affect a person.
Well, there's things you do, and then there's things that go on your mind. And women tend to carry the emotional load, which is just the worrying and the details about things. Maybe you have your partner, your spouse, take one of your children to the doctor, but there's all this preparation to do that. There's making the appointments. There's all of this other stuff that we worry about. In fact, I just said to my husband last week a couple times, I'm like, you're giving me the emotional load. So we just do that, and it's more common for women to do that. We're socialized to do that, and it's challenging for some men to actually see that unless they flip roles. I just talked to a woman last week where her husband's really the stay-at-home parent, and it took him about a year of doing that till he really took on some of the more what we call and term, air quotes, emotional load.
Is there some data out there, or were you able to find how women feel about this? Is this something that is embraced, or is it resented?
I think there's a combination. In fact, I'm just reading a book called The Caregiving Ambition that goes through some of this. But more and more women, especially when you are working full-time and your partner's working full-time, the research says even if you're working the same amount of hours, women do have more unpaid care work still and the emotional load. And I think that's when, especially in that situation, is when women really struggle and say, wait, this is not fair. In fact, my own daughter, who has 9-month-old twins and a 5-year-old, the last time I was talking to her, she was like, she doesn't listen to my stuff very much. She doesn't know what I do. But she said, Mom, this is so unfair. And I was like, it's called emotional load. It's called domestic labor. It is becoming, to many people as something that, come on, let's just really look at what we need to do as a family, and let's split it up more equally for the health and well-being of both of us.
I kind of chuckle. I saw one of the anecdotes or things that you noted in this was at salary.com, they estimated the salary for a stay-at-home mother to be $184,000. I thought, you know what, honey? You're definitely bringing the most to this relationship.
But it's still looked at, though, by women themselves sometimes, but by others, the caregiving responsibilities are not valued. And so even those kinds of roles that are paid for, like, not at home, but the caregiving kinds of roles, service roles, they're the ones that receive less pay in the workforce. So those more traditionally feminine roles are given less pay. And so one of the things that I think, that I like to point out as we think about unpaid care work, that this is critical work for families, for communities, and we need to treat it as such. I'm not saying we should pay everybody to stay at home or whatever, but I think sometimes we judge women and men who choose to stay home and do more unpaid care work.
I think you're right. I think we would look at things differently if we looked at a stay-at-home mother and treated her as if she was making $184,000 a year. If you had that kind of job, you'd say, "Oh, wow, what an enormously successful career you have," and you'd celebrate that. Dr. Susan Madsen, thank you for joining us from the Utah Women and Leadership Project.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, we're counting down 21 days until the historic announcement, Salt Lake City 2034.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Crews have found the body of a 29-year-old woman who drowned while kayaking at Little Dell Reservoir yesterday. Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera says this is the second body recovered by their search and rescue teams in a matter of days. They want people to be extra careful during the holiday weekend.
Just take every precaution that you can when you're in our canyons, when you're out on the water, have your safety equipment, and make sure that somebody knows where you're at.
Rivera says they don't know yet what caused Haley Mason to go under the water. She was at the reservoir by herself, not clear whether she was wearing a life jacket. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The FDA has now approved Eli Lilly's new Alzheimer's drug called Kisunla. This makes it the second drug available right now to U.S. patients to help improve symptoms for people in the early stages of that disease. A year of treatment will cost $32,000, but it's expected to be covered by Medicare. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down just a bit, 26 points, while the NASDAQ up 159 right now. And our KSL weather. Nice day today, a fabulous day tomorrow for the 4th of July. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City.
Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a nice and quiet drive on the Valley freeways, including northbound I-15 from the earlier crash in South Salt Lake. However, an accident in Box Elder County causing a little bit of backup. It could be a crash with injuries northbound Highway 89 at Highway 126 in South Willard. Now, this is just east of I-15. Traffic is able to get through for now, but do use caution. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Sponsored by the Utah Office of Tourism. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see the high around 88 today, and some breezes around, but tomorrow 86 degrees and just perfect sunny weather for the 4th of July. Right now, we're at 79 degrees. It's sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I'm looking at a headline from the New York Times that says that President Biden told an ally that he is he's weighing whether or not to continue in the race. The president's conversation is the first indication that he is seriously considering whether or not he can recover from a devastating performance on the debate stage in Atlanta. That is the headline and the subheadline from the New York Times. And we've had really a discussion looking into it of what it would practically look like. And is this even a possibility? Well, Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas said this to CNN yesterday.
I salute President Biden. I just feel that it's time for him to step aside if we were to be able to protect what he allowed us to gain in 2020, which was a victory for democracy, but he delivered us from Trump then. He could be delivering us to Trump this year if we have more of what happened last Thursday.
Joining us right now from KSL at Night, Adam Gardner. And Adam, as we have seen, after that debate performance, obviously there were some rumblings, there was some hand-wringing that went on. But then President Biden went out to several campaign events, and it seemed like a much better performance at these campaign events. How much of this do you make is just reactionary, and how much substance do you think is really here?
Well, that's a great question, Dave. I don't really actually think it's reactionary at all. I think that Democratic operatives were hoping for the bare minimum. Just keep it together, Joe, during the debate. It doesn't matter what he says. You just got to be able to nail your one-liners, hit your policy stuff, just sound competent. And he did not meet that threshold. Then he goes to these campaign events and even some fundraisers, and it's him reading off of a teleprompter, a much different venue. He also can get ramped up by the crowd, and that's an adrenaline rush that he didn't have during the campaign, during the debate. So during the debate, it was just him up on stage and speaking as the President of the United States. He did not do that well off the cuff, but reading a teleprompter seems to be fine.
It did seem that whenever we're having these conversations, it's very easy to say, oh, he should drop out and the new candidate could come in and have a much better idea. We always love the hypothetical candidate, this mythical creature that'll step in and say all the right things. And then reality steps in. You have to put a name to who would replace Biden. Is there anyone that you think that could step in and have a possible and have success in this?
Well, that's another great question. I think Kamala Harris is a natural fit just because she served as vice president, and some people feel that it's her time. She even has a great deal of her past donors that are meeting together to decide what will happen. And you and Morgan talked about the last hour about what will happen at convention. If he drops out before convention, we could actually have a historically really fun convention on the Democrat side where they actually get to pick, the delegates get to pick a new nominee. I think the one that makes the most sense, probably from an electoral standpoint and someone that can actually take on Trump, would be California Governor Gavin Newsom. But even a lot of Democrats, especially in the Midwest, the Rust Belt, they don't want someone from California running because that really isn't their message. It doesn't help him get moderates. Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer, she makes an interesting choice because she's won Michigan. There's a lot of Republicans there. It helps them in the industrial belt in the Midwest to get maybe a moderate Democrat elected. And so there's actually a number of Democratic governors that are going to be meeting on Monday with President Biden to kind of hear from him what his plans are, and they want to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth. I think the reason for that is Deseret News reporter Samuel Benson wrote a great article on this, where they don't want to stick their necks out for this guy until election night if he's going to be a disaster like they think he is.
So going back to February, this question was asked in the Deseret News. Harris X did some polling, and the number one name that jumped to the top of the list, surprisingly, was Michelle Obama. Do you think there's any chance that the Democratic Party could convince Michelle Obama to jump in at the last minute? Obviously, with the Obama name, the name recognition, she is beloved. Do you think that is a name at all that would resonate?
I'm actually really surprised that name hasn't been floated more. She's really shut down rumors that she even wants that she wants to go back to the White House. But she's very ambitious herself. You know, she had a great law career apart from her husband, and she's great at politics. On the Democratic side, she is great at politics. And she would add this whole new dimension to the race where you have a female black woman who America knows and is able to win in the Midwest and some other states. She would add a very, very compelling route to the Democratic National Convention.
One of the most difficult parts of running, especially at this level, is I'm sure there are a steady stream of negative campaigns and things in the hopper just waiting to be released as soon as somebody comes out, and then all of a sudden, all the focus is on you. Could she stand up to that level of scrutiny and attack?
You know, that's a really great question. I think she probably could. And the reason I say that is she's been in the public eye for so long. Another interesting aspect of that is like Governor Gavin Newsom, where he has major, major scandals, probably akin to Donald Trump. And he's been elected over and over and over again with the public actually knowing all the stuff he's done. So it kind of reminds me of President Trump, where everyone looks at all of his flaws and corruption and we just go, yeah, okay, that's just who he is. So that could get really interesting. There's very few people in the public eye that can actually withstand all of those attacks.
We're speaking with KSL at Night host Adam Gardner. And Adam, I'm looking at a new CNN national survey. So just a couple days after the debate, when it was able to set in with America after they'd watched enough social media clips of the performance, and they started putting up hypothetical matchups and comparing how Trump would do against other candidates. Now, what they found was Biden trailed Trump by 6 points. So that was kind of the starting point. So how much better would a different candidate do? Well, what they found in this polling was that Gavin Newsom still loses to Trump by 4 or 5 points. Gretchen Whitmer, same thing. Pete Buttigieg loses by 4 or 5 points. The only person that did significantly better was Vice President Kamala Harris. She was still losing to Trump, but only losing by just 2 points.
So that's a really interesting. Those are really interesting matchups. What I would caution is that when we look at these races or potential races where it's 6 and 4 points, what we're talking about is nationwide polling. Nationwide polling in a presidential race is really fun to look at and see where the American public are, but it actually we have to take it with a grain of salt because we elect our presidents by individual states and electoral votes. What really matters is Nevada and Colorado and Arizona and Michigan. And so we have to look at, Minnesota and Pennsylvania and Florida. We have to look at it by battleground states, and there's usually about 13 of those. So who can win those states? Whoever can win those states becomes the president of the United States. Right now, I think that person is Donald Trump.
Adam Gardner, thank you for joining us. Look forward to listening to you at KSL at night. Thanks for joining us. When we come back, you're going to be, I don't want to say disheartened. Maybe surprised is a better word. Surprised is a nice word. A new study from Bankrate shows how much Americans feel they need to earn annually to feel financially secure. The number's a chunk. It's a fairly big number. We'll talk to Bankrate next and see what would it take to get Americans there to the point where they feel financially secure.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Utah State is clearing house.
It intends to fire head football coach Blake Anderson.
Days ago, he's decked out in Utah State gear, and then this happens.
2 others also fired.
The Aggies are rocked by more allegations of misconduct. The program and the school's reputation are again at stake. Stay updated this week on KSL News Radio.
This is the first summer I've looked forward to in a long time because it's the first one since I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight with the help of my friends at Soda Weight Loss. I can't overstate how much it matters to have your own personal nutritionist to assist you on your health journey. And you get that at Soda Weight Loss with coaching, support, and real help, 100% over the phone. I agree with my friend Sandy, who says her Soda dietitians and nutritionists felt like family.
They rooted for me. They wanted me to succeed. For me, that was so big, is having someone in your corner.
Come find out what Sandy and I have learned. Soda works. Go to SOTAweightloss.com, click Request a Nutritionist Callback, and within minutes you'll be talking to someone who truly wants to help you get in the best shape of your life. Let me tell you, the hottest days of summer, well, they feel a lot less hot without that fat layer surrounding me, and I no longer want to avoid going to the pool with my kids. So start your own journey at SOTAweightloss.com because SOTA stands for, say it with me, State of the Art.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-721-3955. 800-721-3955. 800-721-3955.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, Utah! When it comes to guiding the growth of our state, you buzzed in with your comments, and we listened to what you had to say. Your feedback on the future of Utah's housing, water, transportation, and open space will continue to help our leaders make important policy decisions, preserving and improving our high quality of life in meaningful ways for years to come. So, thanks for speaking up. Learn more about our state's future at guidingourgrowth.utah.gov.
I decided to go to Mountain Heights Academy because online school makes me concentrate more on schoolwork, and we can work at our own pace. Each week has a schedule, but we can decide if we want to work ahead. We could have a 3-day weekend if we decide to turn everything in on Thursday. I really like Mountain Heights Academy because it's so flexible and it just works for me.
Mountain Heights Academy is an online public school for grades 7 through 12. Visit our website to learn how it can work for you.
How many of you have been waiting months or even years to get a crown, but don't have $1,200 to $1,500 to get one? Only Crowns offers same-day crowns at a fraction of the cost of your dentist. Plus, you're in and out in under 90 minutes. Save your money and save your time with Only Crowns. They provide an unmatched lifetime warranty. No dental insurance? No problem. Don't let the price of a crown keep you from enjoying good dental health. Only Crowns is here, and there's nothing like it anywhere in Utah. Done fast, done right, just $6.99 per tooth. They'll offer a limited exam, all the x-rays needed, plus a full zirconia crown with a lifetime warranty and no hidden fees. No one else offers that, and it's yours with Only Crowns. Visit Only Crowns next to Shields and Sandy or online at onlycrowns.com and get details, including how to score a Stanley mug for the first 100 appointments, along with a chance to win an electric bike. No purchase necessary. Onlycrowns.com. That's onlycrowns.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, woman drowned while she was kayaking in Little Dell Reservoir yesterday. Second, the FDA has approved another new drug for Alzheimer's disease. Third, a dangerous virus from Central and South America, dengue, has been turning up in Utah. 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, think of how much money you make annually. Maybe you're a one-income household. Maybe you're 2. Add it all together. What is that big number? Keep that in mind. Because Bankrate just did some work and asked Americans, how much do you think you need to earn every year, annually, to feel financially secure? And the number to me was eye-popping. I was surprised at the number y'all just came up with. Sarah Foster joins us right now from Bankrate. Sarah, I'm going to save the honor for you. You get to tell everybody how much Americans think they would need to earn to feel financially secure.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm honored. It's probably going to be pretty surprising, though. I think you kind of teed it up well. $186,000. That's what the average American feels like they need to make to live comfortably.
Wow. That was such a surprising number to me, where I thought, this isn't to be rich. You weren't asking, hey, if you wanted to, live the life of the Kardashians, how much do you think you need to make? What were the parameters? Like, how did Americans define feeling totally financially secure?
Yeah, so financially secure was kind of synonymous with comfortable, and everybody probably has a slightly different definition of what that looks like, but overwhelmingly many Americans seem to say it's the state of living without worry, being able to cover your expenses, being able to save for the future, and maybe splurge yourself with the occasional wants. But it became evident that this is really that comfort number. This is not the number they need to feel rich, which, of course, we also asked Americans about that as well.
What did they say to feel rich?
To feel rich, the average American feels they need $520,000 a year, so over $500,000.
Okay, yeah, I'd probably feel rich at 500 and what? It doesn't matter. If it's in the 500s, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Let's compare it then. If you feel like you need to make $186,000 to feel financially secure, what on average are Americans making?
Well, the best place to turn for that would probably be the Census Bureau, and you have to look at workers because they're the ones who are bringing in the income. But on average, full-time, year-round workers are making about $79,000 a year. So half that amount that Americans indicate that they feel like they need.
So they're looking for a 100% raise. That's a good cost of living right there. If you can jump it up 100%, it feels secure. Sarah Foster is joining us right now from Bankrate. She's an analyst there. Now, were you able to break down at all, if this is the perception, what is reality? Is that $186,000, is that reality? Is that how much you need to make to be financially secure, or is it perhaps a more reasonable number?
It's interesting and a very hard question to answer because I think that there is some level of maybe Americans needing over six figures to feel comfortable. We have a separate data study that I frequently think about, and it found that Americans now need a six-figure salary to afford just the typically priced home in half of U.S. states. So that's a huge increase from what it was before the pandemic. And of course, there's other healthcare kind of affordability crisis is here happening in addition with college tuition. I think that what was really interesting to me is putting this in perspective that back in 1980, that $186,000 was roughly the same buying power of $44,000 a year.
Wow.
So inflation is really part of that. But of course, lifestyle inflation is another kind of dangerous financial habit too.
Okay, let's dive into both those angles. Let's start off with how inflation has affected the older generation and how are they handling this?
Yeah, well, something that was fascinating to me is that younger generations are pretty optimistic about making the money that they feel like they need to be comfortable, but they're also the ones who are expecting, that their magic comfort number is higher than anybody else. But when you look at those older generations, I think this is where that impact of inflation comes in, is that they say that they need to earn even more than those Gen Zers and millennials to feel rich. And they're also they're more likely to feel like they're not financially secure and likely never will be. I think there is something to be said about just how hard it is later in your life when you have expenses piling up, when you have a hope to eventually retire. And if you're even living on fixed income already, hot inflation is just even more disastrous for your finances.
How much of this, is there a sense that you can budget your way out of this? Or is the feeling that you just have to either get a new job, change careers? What are some of the practical changes that people are looking at? Because $186,000 is going to be tough to get there. So can you budget your way out of it, or are there more drastic changes?
Yeah, and I think that budget your way out of it is kind of a good way of looking at it. I mean, something that stands out to me in my work in personal finance for almost a decade now is that I have seen Americans who make $500,000 a year feel like they are not financially secure because they're living beyond their means. They have credit card debt. Maybe they're not even really keeping a close watch on their budget. Whereas I've seen many moderate income Americans keeping a close watch on where money is coming in every month, where it's going out. They're still prioritizing saving for the future. So I think this notion that you only can be financially secure once you make a specific amount of money a year is kind of flawed, because obviously it depends on what your financial habits are too. And that's why we just really want to stress the importance of just making sure that you're never biting off more than you can chew from a financial standpoint.
Oh, yeah, we see that often with professional athletes that make millions and millions of dollars, and then shortly after they retire, they end up in bankruptcy. So the budgeting aspect of it is so true. Does the $186,000 that Americans believe they need to feel financially secure, does that almost ensure that you would have to have a dual income to reach that? Because there's not a lot of jobs out there that pay $186,000. It almost feels like the only practical answer to that is for there to be two incomes.
Yeah, you're right. And so we asked Americans about their individual kind of magic number, but I do think that it is often said that Americans who live alone, they kind of are paying this singles tax where they have to pay for housing, they have to budget for groceries, for expenses all on their own. So maybe there are some economic benefits to being in a relationship too, but I also think about how in our data, we saw that Americans with children under the age of 18, so maybe those who already did start a family, who already are living on a dual income, they indicate that they need even more, $215,000 on average.
Oh man, it's a real number, but I think what's important is to understand, we look at these numbers and there may need to be radical changes to your lifestyle. Sarah Foster, thank you for joining us from Bankrate as we have this discussion about Americans that believe to feel financially secure, so to pay the bills, to be able to go on some trips without having to check to see if you have enough money to pay for lunch. The magic number they're looking at is $186,000 to feel financially secure. Thanks to Bankrate for bringing us that information. Now, up next, let's talk about the home buying experience and buyer's remorse. And this hits really close to me. I just closed on my house yesterday. This could not be more timely. You're not going to believe how many people feel buyer's remorse. It's half, folks. Let's talk to the KSL investigative team on how to avoid the buyer's regret.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. County clerks still trying to verify ballot signatures as they tally last week's election results. Davis County Clerk Brian McKenzie told Dave and Dujanovic all ballots are reviewed carefully to make sure the results are accurate.
As ballots are brought into our office and we have to review them, the signature has to match the signature we have on file with the voter. If it doesn't, it becomes a challenged ballot, and our state law requires our election officers to reach out.
If the voter doesn't respond to the county clerk's office, the ballot will not be counted. Every vote counts right now, especially in the 2nd Congressional District House race between Representative Celeste Malloy and challenger Colby Jenkins. This morning, they were only about 300 votes apart. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House is forcefully denying a New York Times report that President Biden told an ally he's weighing whether to consider continuing his run for president. This would be the first indication the president is seriously thinking about whether he can recover from his poor performance during last week's debate with Donald Trump. Some Democrats in Congress have also been expressing doubts about his candidacy. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 23 points on the day, the NASDAQ up 159. And our KSL weather, couldn't ask for a prettier 4th of July. That's next. KSL News time, 11:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Why'd the kid jump off the boat?
I don't know. Why?
Peer pressure.
Oh. Good one, Ned.
Ned isn't funny, but Ned owns a boat, and you don't. So every time Ned tells another one of his unfunny boat puns, you're going to laugh loud and keep on laughing until you get a boat of your own.
A pier where you put a boat.
Yeah, I get it.
And when you do get a boat of your own, make sure you save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Dead battery on America's birthday? America's #1 battery destination is here to help. AutoZone has free battery testing and charging at every store, and batteries starting at just $79.99. With our 4th of July sale, we have savings to help you red, white, and do any other jobs you've been putting off. It's everything you need to get back on the road. at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth. And if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS has raised the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes in recent years. This hits hard if you're behind on your taxes. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. If you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
In Utah County, we have an accident southbound I-15 about a mile north of University Avenue in Provo. It's been blocking a left lane of traffic and causing some backups. And a KSL traffic trooper reporting lights out at Mountain View Corridor and 5400 South. This is the place, Heritage Park, your place for family fun and July celebrations with flag ceremonies, live music, Pioneer Day concert, activities, and more. Visit thisistheplace.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and 88 today. Sunshine again on the 4th of July with a high of 86. And a warming trend starts Friday, reaches 100 degrees early next week. Right now, 79 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It feels like the KSL investigative team is either tapping my phone or reading my mind. I'm not sure which one they're doing, but every story they're doing is like speaking directly to me. And this story right here, it hits very close to home because I just closed on a home yesterday. So right after the show is done, I ran over. I signed about 15 bajillion documents. I forgot how many documents you have to sign when you're closing on a house. But yeah, my wife and I moved after 22 years in Kaysville. Went off to Syracuse, and KSL investigative team dropped this little bomb. Homeownership regrets are pretty common, so much so that 47% of current U.S. homeowners regret the home purchase. Oh, my goodness. Half of people have buyer's remorse over this. Sloan Schrag joins us right now from the KSL investigative team. He's the producer there. Sloan, that's a big number.
It is. It's huge. But the regrets, they're pretty common. And one of the biggest regrets that people have is that they're not expecting these hidden costs that come with home ownership. We're talking about stuff like the maintenance that will pop up. That becomes
for sure
a financial burden sometimes. And sometimes it's just the upkeep. Keeping the lawn nice, keeping the house nice,
and how much time that takes. That was the biggest surprise. Number one, I think we were in our first home. I remember this 22 years ago. We were like 3 days in and the water heater goes out. You've already spent all of your money on down payments and closing costs, and then sure enough, we had to come up with an extra $500 for a water heater. That was my first aha moment, like, oh, this is just the beginning, friend.
Exactly. And one of the things, you can do to kind of help offset that, at least, a lot of us will try to get the most best, or we'll spend as much as we can on our mortgage, get the nicest house we possibly can. But that leaves us stretched, for when these emergencies happen. So the best thing you could probably do is maybe look for a house that's somewhere in the middle of your budget, from between the bottom end and the top end. Look for something that's maybe in the middle to give you a little room for when they pop up.
Another thing about this buyer's remorse or regret, I think you touched on it, was the time. The time and effort meant to take care of a home. There are so many things, not just financially, just the time, the weeding, the cleaning out, the gutters, the leaves in there. Not necessarily a lot of money, but it does require a lot of time. Does that play into some of this buyer's remorse?
It does. I think the biggest thing that kind of takes from this bank rate survey is that basically I think a lot of people don't like the neighborhood that they've moved into because they didn't spend the time, to look into a neighborhood where the home's located, and so they rushed to. And this is a hot market. Homes here sell within 25 days from when they're listed, and so we'll rush and we'll put the offer on the home, but we don't really have a good feel about the neighborhood or what's there, what's close by, what's easy access for us, and so that's part of the big regret that people have.
That is really interesting because I absolutely did that. I rushed in. It was a new area. It was a new build. I don't know any neighbors. We're all brand new together. I hadn't really taken that into account because there really wasn't a track record. But yeah, you get the wrong neighbors or something like that, that can turn sour in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. And so, the advice is, from the experts from the bank rate that we spoke with is basically slow it down if you can. Just spend a little time in that neighborhood before you buy the house, get a feel for it to make sure that it's a place you want to be in.
So we're talking about money. We're talking about location, making sure that you understand these are some of the ways you can protect yourself. So maybe don't stretch yourself quite as far financially on the home. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room for those unexpected costs. Number two, where you can make sure you understand the location, as they say, the time as well. What about mortgage rates? How much of a role does mortgage rates play in the buyer's remorse?
It's a big 10% of people express regret because of the mortgage rate. They felt they didn't get the best rate. And again, this is where you have a little control over this. You can shop around for a mortgage. If you're rushing things, you probably won't. You'll steamroll past that. But if you shop around and look for the better mortgage, you can avoid that regret as much as you possibly can.
We've teamed up with the Stern team. If you're ever interested, if you're trying to figure out, what your home would be worth, you can go to their website, sternteam.com, and figure out their true value in just a few seconds. But the Stern team has helped us stay focused on housing issues here on this show. And Sloan Schrag joins us right now from the KSL investigative team. And one of the things they found, in part with his Bankrate survey, is that almost 50% of U.S. homeowners have regret related to their home purchase. And 40% of regretful homebuyers told Bankrate it's the biggest regret, or one of the biggest regrets they have, is the hidden costs being more expensive than they bargained for. And you've done so much on this, Sloan, in the past, but is there a good idea, if you are buying a home, is there a rough number or a way to consider, okay, how much, I know what I have to pay for my mortgage, how much should I be saving, or how much should I be prepared for as far as other expenses? Should I be saving for that kind of stuff?
The general rule of thumb that I've heard from financial advisors is to have at least 3 to 6 months of emergency money that you would spend on your expenses saved. That way, if something does come up, if there's a job loss or something like that, and you need to have that money on hand, it's 3 to 6 months is the general advice. So the same thing with the home. Experts again say to save money. Because that will help. You don't want to go in debt to repair a water heater or whatever it may be. So have that savings in there too.
When it comes to buyer's remorse, and again, these mortgage rates are somewhere in the 6.5% to even when you have really good credit, you're going to be paying 6.5%, 7%, even higher if your credit rate is not great. Is there any optimism, or do you hear from home buyers like, you know what, once the mortgage rates go down, I'll be a little bit better. I'm just going to withstand some of these bad rates for a few years?
We have heard that, and we've spoken to several people, experts along the way, and they're expecting, rates to drop here, in a little while. I mean, I'm not exactly sure when, but they won't be high forever. There'll be a time they'll kind of level off and drop a little bit.
Sloan Treg, thank you so much for joining us from the KSL investigative team. We also appreciate the Stern team for sponsoring our conversations on the housing market. If you do have interest in learning more from the Stern team, go to their website, sternteam.com. Thank you so much, Sloan. I look forward to more conversations and your reading of my brain. I appreciate it.
I'm surprised you didn't see the van across the street.
It was a white van. There was a big telephoto lens, and it did feel like...
Should have known. I'm sorry.
I should have known. You guys are good at reading my brain, and it's part of what I love about the KSL investigative team is it's so applicable to my life. So thanks, Sloan. I appreciate that. And it is. Right now, I'm still excited. We are starting to move the home from the storage unit. I kind of regret that. I don't like...
It's a little extra labor.
I don't need to move any more couches in my life. I got rid of the piano, though. That was probably the greatest thing I did. It was got rid of the piano. I can't move pianos. My piano moving days are over. But Sloan, thank you so much for joining us. All right, today, July 3rd. Tomorrow, everybody's off. Are we all off? I'm off. This is going to be sweet. Let's get a little insight on what to expect. Traffic, weather. If you're going to be celebrating the 4th, make sure you tune in next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Les Olson IT has the office technology you need to take your business to the next level. Protect your business with state-of-the-art security cameras, sensors, alarms, and access control protocols. Get peace of mind with cybersecurity from our elite IT services team. Reach the next level of productivity, security, and success with Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
The sun is out and the temps are up. It's time to seize the day and hit the road. You were born to ride, and now's the time to make your dreams a reality. Imagine the wind in your hair as you cruise on your very own power scooter. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and these scooters aren't just for getting around. They're your ticket to freedom. With speeds up to 6 miles per hour, you'll own the road like never before. From graduation to concerts and vacations, our power scooters will get you there in style and ease. Don't wait another minute. The time to ride is now. Let's start your adventure today. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Had a devastating knee injury, tore my ACL, tore my PCL, shredded my medial meniscus, and had an initial surgery. That really didn't hold. Had another follow-up surgery around 8 years later. That didn't work, and I didn't want to undergo another surgical procedure.
Enough with the surgeries. They didn't ease the pain, and recovery was brutal. Carmen heard about another treatment for pain relief, the non-invasive regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
I simply figured, heck, I'm going to pick up the phone and call QC Kinetics, and since I've been treated, my quality of life has dramatically gotten better, and I can't thank QC Kinetics Kinetics enough.
These are the nation's leaders in regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics uses the body's own healing components to help provide relief and functionality.
10 months ago, I had difficulty walking up and down a flight of steps. Now I can do just about anything I desire. I'm back to the old me.
If you have joint pain, before you consider surgery, call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free.
Call QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. 385-766-1987.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Great Western Recreation's mission is to bring the social, public, and private sectors together to create play and fitness spaces that positively impact health and wellness, promote understanding, and strengthen the community. Partner Tyler Karyopoulos joins us with more.
Great Western Recreation has been specializing in complete park and playground solutions from design to construction for over 60 years. We offer customers a full range of commercial play equipment for children of all ages and abilities, and create recreational spaces that encourage multi-generational play. As a leader in the playground industry, we focus on providing the best evidence-based research design principles, innovative products, and a high-quality installation service. We currently serve 8 states in the western United States and are also Utah's exclusive representative for the leading manufacturer of commercial playground equipment, Game Time. In Utah, we have many projects in the works this year and look forward to seeing how else we can best partner with our communities to enhance Utahns' quality of life. Great Western Recreation is more prepared than ever to provide the highest level of customer service, high-quality products, and a complete turnkey solution for all your recreation projects. Let's work together and build amazing spaces where people love to play.
Parks, playgrounds, and green spaces are known to provide a wide variety of benefits to the health and well-being of a community and its economy. Learn how you can partner with Great Western Recreation at gwpark.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, county clerks are verifying the last of the ballots from last week's primary election, and the 2nd District Republican primary is close enough that they might just make the difference. Second, the White House says the New York Times was wrong when it said President Biden is seriously considering dropping out. And third, a woman drowned in Little Dell Reservoir while she was out kayaking yesterday. 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I'm so excited for the 4th of July. I love the 4th of July. One of my 3 favorite holidays. Christmas, opening day, and the 4th of July. Those are my and yes, opening day is an official holiday in the Noriega household. I love the 4th of July. I love America. Hot dogs, firework, baseball, all of it. I love it. I'm not sure I would enjoy a baseball game in Ohio, in East Lake, Ohio, as they just installed a new set of luxury seating on the front row. The seats at the AAA ballpark, or no, single A ballpark for the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians. It's a row of toilets. That's what you sit on during the entire game. Now, they're not actual functioning toilets, but they are seats, padded seats that look just like toilets. And I'm not sure I could enjoy a game doing that. I don't care how novel it is. I do love minor league baseball. They do crazy things. This is one of the craziest ones I've heard of. Your toilet row is not for me. But one of my favorite things is I love to go to a Bees game on the 4th, enjoy the game, the big fireworks show afterwards, and we know it's a big travel day. It's a big travel day, so we thought we'd reach out to UDOT with Mitch Shaw. And Mitch, I want to get a little bit of an idea. What is it going to look like? Where are some of the hot spots as far as traffic? Because everyone's running around, having a good time What are you keeping an eye on for the July 4th weekend?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we're kindred spirits because I'm a big baseball fan myself.
Could you chill out on some toilet seats for an entire 9 innings?
You know what? I think I'm going to pass on that one.
Hey, listen, I'm a pretty confident guy. I'm not that confident. I couldn't sit for 9 innings on these padded toilet seats.
Something just doesn't compute with that one.
It does not work. All right. Okay. So let's bring it back here. What are you looking at?
So traffic. So not going to see major delays. What we're looking at right now is during the kind of when we get closer to the evening commute tonight, when you're going to see kind of the mixture of people coming home from work and then also the people going out to travel to their various vacations. There are a couple spots on I-15 that we might see delays of up to 10 minutes. So not super bad, but 10 minutes, just be aware that you could encounter that tonight, this afternoon. The areas that we expect to see that would be northbound I-15 in Davis County, north and southbound I-15 in Salt Lake County, and then southbound I-15 kind of in the Nephi area. So those are the spots that are most likely that motorists are most likely to see delays. Other than that, we have suspended the vast majority of our construction projects. So anywhere that people have traveled recently and seen construction and seen lane reductions or things like that, those will be all lifted and all lanes should be open. So we can kind of mitigate some of that delay we're expecting to see.
The fact you guys do that, you shut down some of those projects during these busy weekends. I want to throw a parade for you. I appreciate it so much, Mitch. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward. It doesn't sound like much of a delay. About 10 minutes. That hardly even counts. Mitch, thank you for joining us. Okay, so there's the traffic. Traffic looks like it's going to be pretty good. Let's look at the weather. Kevin Eubank joins us right now, KSL meteorologist. Kevin, all right, I'm ready. I'm looking at the blue skies right now, the toasty temperatures. What do we got?
Dave, it is going to be fantastic. We don't get too many 4th of Julys in the 80s along the Wasatch Front. Now, we did it last year, but this year we're going to be in the mid-80s on the 4th of July. I mean, the heat comes in after, but for today, tomorrow, you couldn't ask for nicer conditions. Blue skies, sunshine statewide, still hot over St. George. And there is some fire weather warnings going on over southern, central, and eastern Utah because of some of the winds that are there. And they're afraid of fireworks and other issues catching wind and causing problems. But here along the Wasatch Front, it's almost as good as sitting for 9 innings on a toilet watching baseball.
It is quite the sight. I can't believe someone put that in. They're like, we love it. We're going to do it. Who can we get to sponsor that? Roto-Rooter. I'm like, awesome.
There you go.
That's how you do it. Okay, so we've got the 80s. I don't know how you sweet-talked the weather into that, but what is it just for a couple days and then it warms up over the weekend, or is it just going to be a beautiful 80 all throughout the week?
No, that's a good question. 91 is average for us in Salt Lake City, so we're going to be below that for the 4th of July. We get back to 90 degrees the day after on Friday, and then the heat really comes back over the weekend and into next week. A big area of high pressure comes over the west, and we're going to see temperatures go back to the upper 90s to low 100s here in Salt Lake City, 111 to 113 in St. George. So some big-time heat coming. It's just going to be a week later. So enjoy the 4th of July because the July heat will be coming just a couple days later.
You touched a little bit on the fire danger. How dry is it right now?
It's really dry. It's the driest time of the year in the sense precipitation is low during the month of July for us. And it's one thing to be dry. I mean, we had a nice winter and a nice spring, and the vegetation grew and it dried out quickly. But it isn't really the dryness that we're so worried about. It's all the outdoor recreation. It's the campfires. It's the chains on the trailers. It's the fireworks. It's human caused. So we're the biggest problem, right? So the fuel being dry, that's a problem. But the problem is we're adding millions and millions of fire starters by us going out to recreate, to have fun. So just be careful. Be smart. Don't light fireworks off in restricted areas. Make sure your chains are pulled up when you're towing. You know, if there's campfire restrictions, don't have campfires. If there's wind, don't launch the fireworks, even if there aren't restrictions. And if there's fires, you're in an approved area and you get a little gust of wind, make sure you know where those embers are going. We're the biggest solution to our biggest problem, which we start fires. And so it's up to us to make sure that we, even with the dry fuel, that we're the ones being smart.
Okay, biggest question of the entire interview here, Kevin. Are you burgers, steaks, or chicken on the grill?
Burgers, 100%. Love a good steak, but I never tend to do the steaks right on the grill. Burgers seem to be the standby that you can just get right every time.
That is an incredibly unpopular opinion. I never seem to get the steaks right on the grill. You are 100% right, though. You're one of the few people that is brave enough to actually say that.
I can ruin a good steak in 5 minutes. It's amazing how quickly I can throw money down. It's like lighting a firework on my barbecue. It's just money up in smoke.
Like, what are we doing here? You got to have a controlled environment. Maybe even the next thing you're going to tell me is, like, I like to seal it in a nice vacuum pack and sous vide it to just get it to the right temperature. I'm not even going to take you down that road, but, yeah, you're right. A grill has ruined so many steaks.
Dave, we're both better than that. Let's not go down that road. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us from the KSL Meteorologist Department. Thank you so much, KSL Weather Department. Kevin is the best. So, yeah, we're going to have this beautiful weather in the 80s for the next couple of days. It's going to warm up a little bit more over the weekend. Traffic seems like it's going to be beautiful. And guess what, folks? This is it for me, at least for the rest of the week. I'm off tomorrow and Friday. We'll turn things over to Maria Chaleos, who is still working today.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, we're counting down 21 days until the historic announcement, Salt Lake City 2034.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story. Crews have recovered the body of a woman who